Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think they boosted up the microphone, too. We want to welcome everyone to tonight's regular meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Terry.
Here.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Here.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Here.
Mayor Budge.
Here, thank you very much. We also want to welcome the people who will be watching us on computer or on cable, and we would ask the city clerk to read the playback announcement.
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air Thursday, August 9th at 9 a.m. and Sunday, August 12th at 9 p.m. on Channel 14. A copy can be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available on the City of Rancho Cordova's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you. And we do have an opportunity for public comment in a few minutes, so we would ask anyone who would like to speak to get a speaker card in the back of the room and fill it out and hand it to the city clerk. We're going to begin our meetings, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we invite you to remain standing for an invocation. Tonight, Tara Colvin-Back, one of our wonderful local residents, has agreed to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the invocation will be by Danny Langan from the River City Christian. Tara.
Okay, we're pledging. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tara.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this city. Thank you for what it means and everything that they have done around here, Lord. We just want to pray that you can be with the people with the many fires that are going around California right now, God, and that you help them and you help the people, and that you just make it known that that you're there to help. And thank you for the leadership. Thank you for every one of these council members and what they bring to us. Please be with them as we have a great meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Danny. Please be seated. So we always have presentations, and tonight we have something really special. Just by way of preface, a couple months ago, I think in May, we were treated, some of us were treated to a mock city council here in the chambers for the graduation of one of our Youth at City Council programs. And coincidentally, this is in this month's Western City Magazine, guys. There is this great article about winning the war for talent, the elected officials' role. And it talks about the role that we as council members have in helping our city manager to train and grow and find young talent, because none of us, even you guys, are not getting any younger, and we need to grow the next. At some point, you will not be getting any younger, Donald. And we need to grow the next generation of people who will either be participants in civic affairs or participants in civic government. And so this program is absolutely the best way that we could start. We do interns, we do a youth at Summer at City Hall program, which just graduated last Friday night. And tonight we're going to hear from this graduating class, because the programs that they presented in that mock city council were so well researched and thought out that it was more like watching a college debate team. And I was very impressed, and I thought that the ideas and the presentations that they made were something that we should bring to city council. So I'm going to introduce Mandy Irvin, the program manager, who is going to introduce the kids.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Really thank you guys all for this opportunity and allowing us to come and present our projects. So Pro Youth and Families, we do a civic engagement program that's funded through the Community Enhancement Fund. And the mission of Pro is really to be able to highlight student voice as much as possible and really give them a voice in their community. The Youth at City Council students did research-based projects based off of the wants and needs of their peers and the community. They chose 3 topics, and they all happen to be pretty hot topics right now, very timely, very relevant, and it includes gender-neutral bathrooms, the banning of plastic straws, and expanding the Promise program. The students work closely with city leaders, and this is a process that's really important not only to the program, but the project as well, is really collaborating with city leaders, collaborating with the city of Rancho Cordova, and this really helps our students make projects that are both realistic and timely. The partnership with Rancho Cordova city leaders play an important part in this process, and we want to thank Cyrus, Stacy Leitner, Kate Cook, who all came and participated in programming by sharing their personal insights and stories. And we also want to thank Lisa Behrens, Elizabeth Sparkman, and Carrie Simpson, and they worked very closely with our students in actually creating each individual project. And these projects really allowed the students to share their voice. So we're excited to share these projects with you. Our first step is our gender-neutral bathrooms. Girls want to come up?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and audience members. My name is Jackie from Cordova High School, and today I will be presenting the gender-neutral bathrooms.
And you are joined by?
My name is Karina Flanuk. My name is Arista Chauhan.
Okay, so as you know, there are issues going around right now with the LGBT community and even different type of families, such as single fathers. So as our community is a very diverse one, we are growing and we are gaining more diverse individuals. They all offer their own unique needs and interests. One of the most basic ways that we can cater to these groups is through the facilities that we use in our everyday lives. While these gender-neutral bathrooms aren't rare to find nowadays, they're not exactly required in every facility or place or public area we go to every day. On the state level, they're now mandatory in new public spaces of 2017, but they're not pre-existing in commercial areas. Transgendered and gender non-conforming individuals, especially among our youth, are particularly threatened by the issue. Not only are they made uncomfortable by being forced to choose which bathroom or which area to be able to use their own facility. They may not necessarily identify with, but that their safety is put at risk as well. They go through verbal harassment and physical assault against trans people, which is very unfortunate and common in public facilities. The LGBT community is a historically oppressed group that continues to face discrimination to this day. They also deserve to feel safe and secure, especially in the most private corners of their lives. As you know, there are different types of families too, such as single fathers that may need to change their child and may not be able to use the restrooms to do so because most of the baby changing stations are found in the women's restroom, which is problematic and inconvenient for them. Moreover, once children reach a certain age, it becomes socially unacceptable for trans parents or parents of the opposite gender to accompany their children into the same restroom. We propose that single-use gender-neutral bathrooms should be required in all pre-existing commercial buildings under city jurisdiction, such as restaurants, offices, warehouses, and retail stores. We intend to achieve that through a trigger targeting commercial businesses that are seeking a remodel or evaluation costing at least $161,000 through the city government. In order for the business to gain approval, they will need to include bathrooms in their remodel so that they are gender neutral and thus compliant with the recent 88 building code under ADA standards. The cost to implement these bathrooms can vary depending on certain circumstances, such as the type of remodel and type of business. So for option 1, we have constructing a new bathroom. The average would be $20,000 up to $50,000 in order to build a brand new bathroom from scratch. Small businesses that don't have the space to reconstruct or pre-existing restrooms would then have to require expensive layout changes to fit in a new bathroom. Larger businesses, however, that want both gendered and gender-neutral facilities can front the cost are able to do so. Retrofitting existing bathrooms will cost up to $500 and $15,000. The average of that would have to be $9,000. Businesses that already have single-user bathrooms in place or just need to remodel the bathroom to be single-user. Plumbing, pipes, and fixtures are already in place, which save the expenses. This has an impact on our community from LGBT and families. As I said, single fathers, parents that are probably transgender may have a problem facing this and probably have a better impact on them too. The pros of this would have to be a safe space for transgendered individuals as they face discrimination nowadays. Accommodating for fathers, it's more accessible and inclusive overall. With just a single user bathroom for all, small businesses can save space and money on maintenance costs. Some cons are it is expensive to retrofit bathrooms or construct a new one entirely. It's an easier process for new buildings, but for older ones, existing ones that already have gendered bathrooms in place, maybe take more money and more time to do. Sharing restrooms with other genders might make certain groups of people uncomfortable or raise disagreements. Single-user bathrooms would help to alleviate many of these concerns because multiple people are not present at the same time. Single-use bathrooms would be less efficient than gendered bathrooms that multiple people can use at the same time, and businesses can still have gendered or gender-neutral bathrooms if they wish. The enforcement would be building and safety department will issue a building permit to businesses if their bathroom is gender neutral and ADA compliant. Penalties of that would be if they're not installed, then the building permit will be withheld and permission will not be granted to occupy the space. For businesses that may not be in great financial standing to afford bathroom remodels or construction, then an extension can be granted at the discretion of building official. If they fail to meet the deadline, however, then we can penalize them per the aforementioned punishment. And the two citywide goals that we were targeting were promoting a positive image of Rancho Cordova, because as you know, we are a diverse community. We also are growing in different types of diverse groups. We want to be inclusive as well with any sort of community we have here. We also want to ensure a safe, inviting, and livable community by doing so. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the girls? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, our next students up are going to be presenting on the banning of plastic straws, which I know is a big hot topic right now.
This is the wrong one. Please skip the slide.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. My name is Arista Chauhan, and I'm presenting for straws. With me is Teresa Kohler.
And I'm Andy Zhu.
Those are exciting straws.
Okay, so here's a geography lesson for now. So as you know, the water moves in like the same direction as wind, which is how water on the Earth is like created. The planet's rotation changes directions of these currents, and the currents like move around all the land masses, all the continents, all the islands, and it has like these warm and cold currents meeting up and like splashing each other, and once they hit each other, there's like a vortex, a swirling vortex. And this is important because when there's this swirling vortex and there's also people dumping trash into the ocean, there's often a lot of that trash is caught into that vortex, and it's constantly swirling around and can't really escape. So thus has around in between Japan and Hawaii, there's this island of garbage with this giant, because of this giant swirling vortex known as a gyre, and because so much trash has been dumped away, it has created an island from from the vortex. The island is now the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and it is huge. It's often difficult to say how much trash has been deposited into this area, but it is a lot.
Here we just have some examples of how current trash is polluting our oceans and our sea life and our beaches all around the world. What can we do? It can take about 1,000 years at the most for plastic to degrade, and an estimated 2,700,000 metric tons of plastic is in our oceans currently. So what we can do is eliminate plastic, starting with straws. Impacts. 500 million straws are used daily in the U.S., killing 1 million seabirds and marine animals. Straws are very hard to break down recyclably, so most of the time recycling plants won't try as hard to recycle them. So they end up going in the trash, and that's where they end up killing our sea life. An average of 1.6 straws per person every day. That, over time, there's 7 billion people on the planet, so over time, that adds up. There's over 60,000 people living in Rancho. I can't do the math right now, but I'm sure it's, yeah. Affected businesses may see less profits, as our proposal is to replace plastic straws with biodegradable straws. This would, of course, come at a price. So our suggestion to the businesses would be that they charge 5 cents, I think it was, for straws. They can hand it out willy-nilly if they must, but if they want, they can charge for them. So those businesses might see less profits. Minor inconvenience for people, it's much like the plastic bag ban, which you have to buy the straw. Would decrease It would decrease the amount of litter we see on the floors of Rancho Cordova. This would therefore promote a better image overall.
Our proposal, all beverage selling vendors with 8 or more employees must find a biodegradable replacement to the plastic straw in order to create a better environment. The business must use 1 or more of these pre-approved biodegradable straws as listed by the city. If the vendor fails to do so, a warning will be given first. If the issue persists, there will be issued a fine. The goal is to have plastic straws completely phased out by January 1st, 2025.
So already there are a lot of options for biodegradable form of the straw instead of using just plastic. So here are a few examples that we have found, and a lot of places have already implemented some form of this ever since on the internet there was like a video of a sea turtle with a straw stuck in its nose, and it disgusted everyone, and it led to a lot of public outcry. So in Davis, customers have to personally request a straw in order to get one. They won't just give them out. In Seattle and I believe San Luis Obispo, plastic utensils are already banned, and so we as the city of Rancho Cordova could follow up with that and join them by eliminating plastic straws.
Okay, so some of our options are straws, which are made out of sugarcane, paper straws, bamboo straws, eco-products, compostable straws, and pasta straws.
Citywide goals. This will improve the image of our city because it will lead to less littering and straws found on the floor. This point I made earlier, it's just there would be less litter on the streets, and it would just make our whole parks and our public areas look much more neater. It also shows that the city of Rancho Cordova cares about the planet and the environment, which may seem appealing to potential residents. It will encourage citizens to take on a responsibility for what they do to the planet or how they affect it. This will give the city of Rancho Cordova a more responsible mindset. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the students?
Where do you get the straws that you showed, the pasta straws and the paper and all that sort of thing?
So you can we just researched a few of the options. Not all of them have been implemented, but they are, of course, options. I know the most ridiculous one, which looks like pasta straws. I believe somewhere in it's somewhere in the UK, but there was a restaurant which had all of its cocktails with pasta straws. So that was one way of dealing with the problem.
I was just kind of curious. You did a wonderful job on showing what you were trying to cover, and I think the idea of having straws like that, biodegradable, is a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that, so I was here for this presentation. I think this was the one I actually commented on, but there's seen cities all across the West Coast and the East Coast that are looking at this, and some of them in some very unique ways of doing it, but this is a subject that at some point we really should be talking about, I think. And in a bigger concept, they're just the trade war talks that have been coming up, the number of items that we think are recyclable, that there is nowhere to recycle them or to ship them to, cardboard, paper, all kinds of things that have nothing to do with this part, where this is something that actually is never going to be recycled. But there are so many things that were thrown into the recycling bin that in the last couple months have become unrecyclable. And so I think just a wholesale as a city, we need to start to tackle how is this education? Is this actually passing laws? And I know there are cities that are threatening jail time if you give a customer a straw and other things like that. But there is I think, a place to have a conversation more about how we're going to address the lack of recyclability of a lot of products that we thought were recyclable. And I'll tell you, 6 months ago, I didn't know this was an issue. I never knew straws weren't recyclable, and I think it's really great that you students stepped up and picked this subject. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So last up, we are going to have our presentation on expanding the Promise program.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff. As mentioned earlier, my name is Karina Filanyuk. I'm a upcoming senior at Cordova High School and a member of Pro Youth and Family. So today I'm going to be talking about the Promise program, which is a suggested college fund. So before explaining how we were suggesting to implement it in Rancho Cordova, I want to describe a situation that's already happening here in California in the city of Stockton. So at the start of this year, I think in January, start of 2018, they launched a college program, which is similar to what we're proposing, and it offers scholarships to students within the city. They gather the funds for that program through donations. They've been able to acquire quite a large amount, 20 million from an anonymous donor, and it's been successful so far. And so we wanted, and then now to compare what's happening in Rancho Cordova right now. So we have around 1,700 students just attending Cordova High School, which is the primary high school in our city. And over half those students, 68%, are at an economical disadvantage, so they often don't have the means or funds to continue on their education because of that barrier. Especially with the rising costs, like right now, just to attend a CSU is $7,000, while attending a higher facility like a university costs almost $35,000 here in California. So the prices are incredibly high, and which is why we're suggesting to create this fund. So the proposed solution is to implement, before going into that, so the program would be a continuation of the current Promise program, which, as you guys know, pays for the first year of Folsom Lake students. And the Promise program 2.0 would continue the funding for the second, third, and fourth year. But instead of paying for just the Folsom Lake education in that facility, it'd offer any other option the student chooses. And so in order to achieve this and it'd be best to implement a half-cent tax on non-essential goods, which would accumulate a significant amount, which would be able to fund the programming. So currently, there's the half-cent tax that was implemented in the city to help maintain it and to fund transportation, which accumulates a large amount of like 5 million estimated. So we're thinking of doing something similar, since half a cent is not such a significant amount, but on non-essential goods. And things that would fall into the category of non-essential goods would be fast food, harmful goods like cigarettes, soda, things that are like society considers unhealthy, and other things of that nature, as well as others would fall upon that list. So requirements to be a participant of the program would be strict, but also very possible and doable. So in order to participate in the program, the student would be required to maintain a 3.0 GPA and complete an interview process of some nature to ensure that they're genuinely interested in this support and help. And they'd also be required to be attending a school in California to keep the students within the states and to keep them more in the area, so they're not seeking other schools, I guess. So as I mentioned earlier, the current half-cent tax gathers an estimated 5 million. We estimate that through the modified version, it'd be around 2.5, which is sufficient, should be sufficient amount to start off the fund. So the pro of this would be that it allowed more students to be able to further their education, especially those who come from economical disadvantaged background. And it also boosts the image of Rancho Cordova as it supports its students. The cons, however, are that individuals without children would still be forced to follow this tax, and the reaction of citizens to this tax paying additional thing additional money would be questionable as well. It aligns with the city goals in several ways. First, it promotes the image of the city, promoting that it supports its younger generation and helps further their education. It ensures an inviting and livable community, again, goes along with boosting the image, and it drives diverse economical opportunities since many of those students, youth, grew up in Rancho Cordova, so they'd be bringing back those this newly acquired knowledge and background and education back to the city. And so it'd further help boost our city as a whole. And so my group, which unfortunately many couldn't make it, suggested that it must gain a two-thirds approval in order to pass this measure on the ballot, and we suggest that it be added to the next ballot for the local election, if possible. And that would be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the presentation. Are there any questions?
Wonderful questions. Okay. Isn't it nice to be able to make your presentation without Patrick Pennypincher yelling at you?
Yes, it's very low.
Yeah. This was it. This was it. Patrick Pennypincher showed up and yelled.
I was just going to say, and I should go find the video, but when I was in Monterey, Linda, I think I shared this with you, at the California League of Cities, they showed 3 different cities that did this. Mm-hmm. But what was great was the mayor and a city manager both got cut off by students doing the same thing that Steve did. You guys were so much nicer to us trying to heckle you up here than this video that I saw. And I think it was it wasn't Monterey. I want to say it was Salinas and then Daly City and somewhere else. But they literally, the mayor's going off on these students and they go, okay, your time's up, you can sit down. And it was awesome. So thank you for being much nicer to us than we were to you.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Guys, thank you all very much. We have an opportunity at the end of the meeting for the council to request future agenda items. So we'll discuss this at that point and see if we have enough votes to bring any of these proposals back to City Council as a discussion. Okay? Thank you all very much. All right, and our last presentation is the fact that our colleague, Vice Mayor McGarvey, is celebrating his birthday on Friday, and so we need somebody like Garrett to lead us in happy birthday.
Mic it up, though. Okay, we're going to sing it. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you. Hey! And many more.
Very good. Thank you all. So it is the appropriate time for public comment. And again, citizens wishing to address the council on any matter will supposedly have filled out a card by now. We ask that you take 3 minutes and tell us what's on your minds. And remember that the city council cannot take action on something that is not scheduled on the agenda, but we'd be happy to refer you to staff or schedule it on a future agenda if that's appropriate. So, City Clerk, do we have speakers?
Yes. We have 2 speaker cards at this moment. Sam Johnson, if you would come forward, and Sam will be followed by Eric Foster. Sam, if you could introduce yourself, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Sam Johnson. Many of you will probably know my family business, which is B&J Towing, B&J Body Shop over here on Kilgore. Been here since 1961. And I stand up here to represent myself, my business, and also speak a little bit on the behalf of my colleagues over here. What I realized as I was sitting in the room, we represent 100 years of collective service in this community for providing roadside emergency response service. All of us have been providing services to the city of Rancho Cordova long before you were a city, and to the Rancho Cordova Police Department since its inception. So as I come to you this evening, we have successfully partnered with the Rancho Cordova Police Department for a good many years, and we want to continue to do that. I come to bring a couple issues to the council's attention in hopes and goals that we can reach either a collective committee or something of the nature to address some concerns that we might have. Most of you probably aren't aware, and I wouldn't expect that you were unless you were in the business, but our industry in the last 24 to 36 months has taken over a 300% cost increase. We have seen 100% insurance increases annually for the last 3 years running, and we've gone from about 24 insurance agencies in the state of California down to 6. So as supply and demand hits us, the prices have skyrocketed. In the city of Rancho Cordova, no less than about 2 years ago, you had 10 towing companies that were servicing this agreement, and you're now looking at 6, and we're trying to hang on. So we're really getting hit hard with our costs of doing business. Fuel is up, labor's up 35%, workers' comp is up, and our equipment, because of California Air Resources Board, has been required to be replaced at about a 25% increase per unit. So we are facing a challenge like no other over the last several years. And when we entered into the original agreement with the city of Rancho Cordova, the way the fees were structured at that time were working. Unfortunately, at this point, we are struggling to keep our doors open and continue to service the contract under its current requirements. We have worked diligently to try to address this offline, not to come to you folks since about December or January of this year, and have run into many roadblocks. So we would request that the city assign a council or a committee to look into this. We would request that the committee potentially have someone from the city, from the police department, and a representative from industry that could bring actual data and statistics to the table to explain our costs and how the systems work and how these agreements work. I don't know that we have time to go into all the details tonight, and I wouldn't do that to you. One of the things I do want to share with you is that other cities that we've partnered with and met with and have been servicing, and all of us at one form or another do business in, no longer charge fees to the towers to provide these services. And these cities are as follows: Folsom, Citrus Heights, Roseville. Most recently, the city of Sacramento has completely done away with any fees to the towers. And the California Highway Patrol in the entire state of California does not charge the towing community to provide emergency services.
Please wrap up your comments.
With that, I will say that if I could just place the request that we have somebody assigned to a either a side committee or a special studies committee, I would be happy to volunteer as a representative of the industry and bring the data and work collaboratively for a successful partnership moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. We're going to ask you to keep both the police department and code enforcement are in the back, and we're going to ask you to continue to work with them and present your idea of a committee to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Foster.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Foster, and I own Central Valley Towing in Rancho Cordova, California. I've been here for 18 years. I started off at Croydon, and now I'm on in the Douglas Industrial Park. I'm not sure you are aware, but every single time the city of Rancho Cordova calls my telephone number, they charge me $50. If I cannot make the call because I'm working a big accident for someone else, Highway Patrol, or maybe even for them, I'm still charged that $50. If it is a junk car with no engine, no transmission, it has zero value and no scrap, like we were talking about earlier with the scrap value in California being absolutely nothing, I still have to pay that $50. I have to pay my employees to bring that vehicle to my yard. I have to then process the vehicle. Then I have to take it to a dismantler where I'm getting about $100 for that car. But the most disturbing thing for me is that as I'm paying $50 to the city of Rancho Cordova, if that person decides to pay their registration and go pick up their car, they also have to pay the city of Rancho Cordova $152. So the city of Rancho Cordova is collecting $202 for every single car that's towed off the city of Rancho Cordova. That is picked up. But unfortunately, the fees are so high now that the people aren't picking up the cars. So since April of 2017, I towed 407 cars. 300 of those cars were left on my property, and I had to dispose of them. So the ratio of vehicles being picked up is about 22%. And I'm sure the city can, I know the police department's been working very hard to help us with this, and we need the council's help. It's not sustainable, as my colleague said. There's 6 towers in the room now, they're worth 10. and I don't think it's sustainable. And the garbage is not going away in the city. We want to help get rid of the garbage. We just don't want to use our checkbooks to do it. So I want to thank all you, and hopefully we can come to some kind of a solution for this huge problem for our industry.
Thank you, Eric. So same message. Continue to work with the police department and code enforcement so they can bring us back a report.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't have any other speaker cards. Michael? No? Okay. So no other speaker cards.
Okay, super. Thank you all. It's time for council reports, and we'll start with Donald.
Well, I could go back because it's been like a month since we last met, but I'll just say kudos on 4th of July and everybody that worked so hard. We have not had a meeting since then, right?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's another great year, great parade and everything else. Just a couple of, I guess, highlights, I'll say, since then. I'm just kind of flipping through my calendar here. One was, and I think, Linda, you and I just barely missed each other at the J.J. Pfister distillery opening. But if you haven't been over there, it's a great space. It's named after a former women's swimsuit company manufacturer that actually their original factory burned down in the 1906 earthquake. And so they moved to Oakland and existed for like another 50 years, I think, there. And the factory that burned down in San Francisco, they actually built City Hall there after this building burned down. But just some really great history. The gentleman who owns it and runs it, his mother used to work at the factory in Oakland until she retired. So if you get a chance, get out there. Thanks to the city and everybody else that worked with the business owner to give him some additional signing around the Barrel District. That was fantastic. And he was very appreciative and very nice. Kudos to the chamber for doing their another great elected reception that had no speeches, which we all love. Let me see, that's, I think, kind of about it. The Air District did not meet in July. We'll meet next week or week after. I think that's about it. Oh, no, I take it back. Actually, no, we did meet last week, or 2 weeks ago. But not a whole lot to discuss. For those of you who aren't aware, we have a lot of fires. We have had a lot of Spare the Air days. We're going to continue to have a lot more. So please check sparetheair.com before you go outside. Kids and folks with asthma, stay inside, keep your doors shut, keep your air conditioners running, and clean your filters at least every 3 months. So.
Super.
That's
good
good for me.
advice. Thank you. Yeah. When you can't see across I know Bob had an experience at Clear Lake, but when you can't even hardly see across the road, that's not so
If you can
nice.
taste and see your air, you probably shouldn't. You should be avoiding.
For sure. Garrett.
All right, so awesome 4th of July, of course. It was amazing, and that group that throws it on every year is that's overwhelming, and I know they're gone for the next month and a half just to recover from that. Great job, Chamber of Commerce. The elected officials dinner reception was awesome. Congratulations to Stone's Casino. They're opening up. And then happy 60th birthday to the CRPD.
You don't mean Stones.
You don't mean Stones. That's in Citrus Heights.
I meant, what's Magnolia?
Magnolia House.
Magnolia. CRPD's 60th birthday, that was awesome because I got to see cool pictures of one of our council members, and she might have been wearing a cowboy hat. But she says it wasn't a cowboy hat, but I'm certain it was because there were cowboy boots attached to it. But it's interesting to see how the city's changed and what they started with, and it was interesting seeing the city have basically nothing and to build up from the ground up and seeing those kind of things. Cowboy hat.
I have several. Bob.
Well, a couple of things. One of the things, like Linda said about the Clear Lake, there's 2 examples of what's going on with the state right now. Yosemite National Park and Clear Lake State Park are both closed indefinitely because of the fires. The one close to Clear Lake is now the 2nd largest fire in the history of California. It's over 273,000 acres have burned, and it's still burning. it's unbelievable that we have that kind of continued fires, and the fires, of 18 of them going on right now, I think, in Northern California. So it's just, you know, it's affecting us. I took a picture of the moon. It's kind of orange and brown. And I took a picture of the sun. It's just about the same color. Very yucky, as my grandkids said. And yeah, it is very yucky. Tomorrow, we have National Night Out. I looked up a little bit of history of National Night Out, and it was started in 1984. It began with, let's see, 400 communities in 23 states. There were 2.5 million people that were involved in that. In 2016, there were 38 million residents in 16,000 communities across the United States. So it's expanded some. So if you have someone in your neighborhood that's going to be involved in this, you might get together with them. They have barbecue. They've got all kinds of good things going on. And it's something that you can learn about your neighborhoods, and you can learn about the city of Rancho Cordova, and about the National Night Out. It's very good. One more thing about the aerial spraying, which is going on right now with Mosquito Vector Control Board. It's going on with the agriculture more than anything else. Tonight, they're spraying some agriculture that's in close to Dunnigan. So they're all over the place. A good part of it, and almost all of it in Rancho Cordova, has been ground spraying rather than aerial. But they're keeping watch on that. Most of the mosquitoes that come out test positive are in the Elk Grove area, and also in north of the river in Citrus Heights and Orangevale and some of the areas like that. So it's make sure you protect yourself when you go out, because dusk and dawn is the time that the mosquitoes are out the most. So take care of yourself.
Thank you, Bob. So I would add my thanks to the Cordova Community Council and to our communications department for the incredible job that everyone did, both in setting up our 15th birthday celebration as well as the 4th of July, and creating events that were so exciting that it was really covered by, I think, every television station in the community. And just it's a great testimony to how far we have come and how much interest there is in what's going on in Rancho Cordova. I attended I call it an inauguration of the either 26th or 27th community president of the Korean American community here, along with their their deputy consul general from San Francisco, and we presented resolutions to the incoming president. You heard about ribbon cuttings. We've had several, including a brand new restaurant over here in Zinfandel Square called Patali. We finally get an Italian restaurant back in Rancho Cordova, and everybody is raving about the food. And then J.J. Pfister, which we were absolutely blown away, started off as a bathing suit factory in the late 1800s. And the younger people working over there are sixth generation Pfisters and their ancestors in that business. It's really remarkable. Kids at City Hall, in addition to the presentations you heard tonight, we just graduated another class on Friday night, and you will hear from this class also, but in a different format, because their class project was to design their thoughts, or to share with us their thoughts about what the Civic Center that we're in the process of doing workshops for, to share their thoughts about what the Civic Center should contain, where it should be, what it should look like. Cordova Recreation and Park District did celebrate its 60th anniversary, and it was a lovely celebration with a great band out in the park called City of Trees. Laid back, easy New Orleans jazz. It was really super. The Mill Station Art what are we calling it? MAC, the Arts Community Center, has a new exhibit. This is encaustic art. And if you're intrigued by what that might be, you should go over and see. It's an ancient, kind of a medieval thing that has to do with fusing found materials into wax and creating art with the use of wax. And along the same lines, we had an artist reception last week for the new exhibit here in City Hall. And because we're coming up to the celebration of the 100th anniversary of Mather with the air show on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of September, all the art that you see in City Hall right now is celebrating the history of Mather. And then Friday night, we had the first of the 5 concerts in Village Green Park, food trucks, great street tacos, lots of really good food. And I can't tell you who's going to come next Friday night, but there's a flyer out in the hall that does. And tonight it's been a long time, and we want to close in honor of several people who have left us over the last 3 or 4 weeks. The first one is a wonderful woman named Trudy Schaefer, and she's not a Rancho Cordova resident, but the reason that we would know her is that for those of us who've had to stand for election and go down and be a part of the Channel 6 TV show where they do little debates with all the candidates, Trudy is one of the leaders of the League of Women Voters who has always moderated those debates. We lost John Reinen. Reinen and Bardis, of course, are famous names around here in terms of home building and community building. The legacy of their company is the Bardis sisters, who are building homes in the downtown area at this point. And John was still a young man and left us way too soon. A name that some people will remember from the past. Her name is Mary Florence Mornini, and she was married to Norm Mornini. When I came to Rancho Cordova, he was the owner of the Hallmark card shop in Mills Center, but he had also been one of the original owners of the Grapevine and a variety of other businesses. He came here as an Air Force pilot and passed away many, many years ago, and his wife has just left us. And then finally, well, no, not finally, Sue Johnson, the widow of our former county supervisor, Toby, we attended her funeral last week. And then finally, another one of our founding families, the Yost family. So many people know Diane Goldman Yost as the culinary academy teacher at Cordova High, and her sister, whose name I forget right this minute, who has taught at Cordova High also, but their mom, Rose Frank Yost, Ricky, perfectly beautiful woman, and just passed away quite recently and will be buried in the Kilgore Cemetery because they are one of the original family plot owners in the Kilgore Cemetery. You can visit their plot, and they sort of begin the history of Rancho Cordova. And so Mrs. Yost will be interred in the coming weeks. And I will provide you all with a list. Okay? So we're going to move into our city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few comments I would like to make. First of all, I would like to appreciate and acknowledge all the good work that staff has been done in supporting many of the community activities that we've had. We had a successful and a wonderful 4th of July, the 15th year anniversary. And on Friday, we graduated a number of students from Cordova High and other schools who participated in the internship program through the City Hall. A large number of city staff were provided mentorship, provided coaching, and worked very closely with this group of young people, and something that would really have a long impact on many of these young people. We also held a Kids Day at the City Hall on Friday, and we had a record number of children and young adults participate in the program. Very successful. It's a highlight for many of our staff members, and they had a great time at the City Hall. And one other comment I would like to make is I would like to congratulate our Public Works team. They have been working very hard on implementing a program, a project to completely renovate and upgrade our signal and traffic operations infrastructure. And through a significant grant from the federal government and also some funding that we provided as a match. And this program was recently, or the project was recently completed and was recognized by the American Public Works Association as the Project of the Year in 2018. So I want to acknowledge that, and there would be a celebration, there would be a recognition this coming Friday. If any of the council members would like to participate, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrus. Okay, we are going to move into our consent calendar. Consent calendar items are deemed routine in nature and can be approved with one vote unless somebody wants to pull one of the items or we have someone signed up to speak to one of the items. Do we have anybody signed up to speak?
No.
Does anybody want to pull Bob?
9.2.
Okay, we will set 9.2 aside for,
Move the remaining calendar?
great, thank you. So that would be 9.1, then 9.3 through 9.7. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Stacy, call the roll.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
And Councilmember David Sander is absent. Mayor Budge.
Yes, motion carries. So 9.2.
If there's,
Let's ask Stacy to read it into the record.
right, well, I asked to pull 9.2 because the wording in one of the items in Article 7, it's 23.719.130. It's standards for off-street parking for private residents. It comes down to is it says any vehicle, trailer, or vessel which is inoperable, or vehicles that are certified as non-operation or planned non-operation certified with the California Department of Motor Vehicles will be stored entirely within an enclosed structure where it is not visible from the street or any public or private property. Development standards should not be parked or stored in any yard within a residential zoning district or neighborhood, and that's not what we were talking about when we passed this. We were talking about having vehicles which were not only not inoperable, but they were up on blocks. They had weeds growing between them. We had all kinds of things. But when we have something that's certified as non-operation, 10 years ago I had open heart surgery. I couldn't use my RV. Across the street, there's a gentleman who has a trailer and a boat. He couldn't use it. He was, because of his health. I know there's some vehicles that are being taken care of. They're good vehicles, they're in operation, but they are listed by the Department of Motor Vehicles, and you pay the $20 or $10, whatever it is, to keep it non-operable. But what it says on this, it says any vehicle, trailer, or a vessel, you can't have it on the street, you can't have it invisible, you can't have it visible by anybody in public or private property. I mean, if you have it stored in a storage area, you can see it from the public. There's just something that's wrong with the wording on that whole thing, and I want to have it redone.
So should we continue it and, can you speak to it today? Or do we need to continue it to review the language?
Because it's a second reading, we couldn't make any modifications to the the language this evening. So we would want to get direction from the council of what you would like to see in terms of additional language or revisions.
So just to clarify for the council, you really have a couple choices. You could decide that you want to have a substantive conversation about that. If you decided after having a substantive conversation and perhaps hearing staff's response, you could either decide to proceed with the second reading and adoption despite the comments from Councilmember McGarvey, Vice Mayor McGarvey, or alternatively, you would need to ask us to table the second reading and to come back at a future meeting with reintroduction of the ordinance with a modification based upon the conversation that the council directed. Or alternatively, you could do a third option, which would create yet an additional step in the process, which would be to continue this item and then have a substantive conversation about the possible reintroduction at a future meeting, but we wouldn't bring back to you the reintroduction until we had the substantive conversation at a future meeting. So just
Is there a way to
if you don't do
break-
it tonight, it would be a three-step process.
Is there a way to break that piece of it out of this ordinance and approve the balance of the ordinance without that section?
Not in the second reading.
If that is the direction, I would suggest removing the amendments to Title 6 and to Article 7 of Title 23, and that would remove that specific language, and then everything else could move forward.
And I would say, no, I would want to bring it back because in fairness to the public, this is a second reading. You're only supposed to make typographical and non-substantive changes at
Yeah.
a second reading. So there may, for example, be members of the public who
would
had a
wanna
different
discuss it.
understanding than the vice mayor's comments and perhaps aren't here this evening precisely because they thought this language was going to be in your ordinance. So we wouldn't want to do them the discourtesy or unfairness of not allowing them to see the ordinance with that taken out of it.
Well, I understand that, quite frankly, because it was a second reading, and as Adam says, there should not be any changes. We should have what we thought we were approving with the first reading it wouldn't have changed since then. Okay, so I didn't reread it, so it sounds like we need to table this, so at minimum, we can all.
Can I ask a couple of questions? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. So you're talking about item 7, the parking and loading portion, correct? That's what you were referring to. So
Vehicles, it's trailers and all the rest, the rest of it that's there on your driveway.
So it's a second reading because we discussed it when we repealed the RV. When was this an action or a calendar item?
This was done at your July 2nd meeting. Initially, we talked about all of these on June 18th when bingo was lumped in. We brought it back on July.
What was
When we had bingo come forward.
Okay.
It was multiple amendments, including bingo. We pulled bingo out and then brought back just these changes on July 2nd.
So I was under the impression that the description of this, if it was marked as non-operable, because we talked about this when we talked about the RV issue, was that RV boats and all those things, that I was under the impression at that time that if it was marked non-operable, if it didn't have current tags, it wasn't allowed to be parked within sight anyways. So isn't this already, I was under the impression this was already the rule.
This was for clarification and just for everybody. This is separate from the boats, RVs, and trailer question,
Right.
which I just wanted to get that on the record.
That's helpful.
This is clearly about council desiring the require. Although we have been enforcing that, we were kind of codifying it here because it's truly the inoperable cars that don't have current registration that are causing issues. I'm not saying that there aren't the odd occasion, as the vice mayor was talking about, where you have a health issue, but in general, the cars that we're seeing out there are the ones that do not have current registration, and people.
So can I clarify? So
Yes.
right now the rule is cars that are not marked non-operable are not supposed to be within sight of the street. You shouldn't be able to see them from the street, right? They got to be in a garage or in a backyard legally parked in some way. Is that what the rule is now? And then this is adding additional vehicles?
No, right.
items?
We were enforcing registration, this is kind of codifying it, Councilmember Terry. As we made some changes in the code, we wanted to make sure it was clearly written into the code that cars had to have current registration. So this is all we're doing is pretty much codifying what we've been doing. But there's been so many changes between different titles, it wasn't appearing in here, so.
Okay, so,
Okay, so let's clarify this for Bob.
well, hang on. So I just want to understand. You said that we were enforcing a rule that wasn't in the code? I'm sure that's not what I heard.
It's in other, there's other code sections, and we're cleaning it up, so all the code sections are equal.
Because I guess what I'm trying to clarify is somewhere already this rule exists.
Yes.
Okay. This is not a new idea.
No.
Okay. And to Bob's point, we may want to discuss further. I just want to clarify that this is not new. It's just new to this section. It exists somewhere else, and it's already illegal. Whether or not we want to talk about changing it, we should talk about that. And if we need to table this and bring it back or continue it, but just so I'm understanding, this is already a rule somewhere in our law.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
So Bob, the point is, this is not, again, as Carrie just clarified, this has nothing to do with the committee with the discussion about boats and RVs that we asked the committee to work on, okay? This simply has to do, this is the formal approval that we want code enforcement to be able to pursue the vehicles that are not registered, not licensed, have grass growing under them, are decrepit and disintegrating in the front yard or in the driveways.
That's what we talked about. That's not what it says.
May I just clarify one thing?
Okay, and I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of it, and I do not have a computer to read it on. So is there a way to pull up that particular sentence that Bob is concerned about?
You can see it mine.
I don't do that. I mean, I would do Dropbox on my computer, but I can't do it on my phone. Yeah.
We can bring that up.
We'll bring that up, and while we're doing that, so to Councilmember Terry, it's actually already in code section 6.56.160, which is the abandoned vehicle section of the municipal code. This is just to make sure that we have it in all places, so we don't have code sections that aren't equal. But yeah, it's absolutely in there.
Yeah, and again, that was my question. 'Cause
Yes.
While, when the car, and again, I get this isn't part of the RV conversation, but my argument the first time we talked about this, probably about a year ago now, somehow it got slipped into that code that surprised a handful of us, was figure out first how ineffective the current rule that we have, which is if it's marked non-operable, we have the ability to enforce the rule and ticket them, tow them, whatever. And I said, before we start talking about just not letting people park RVs in front of their house, like any RVs, we should at least see first, is it 90% non-operable marked ones that we can just deal with those, and then we just got a handful of good, actors that have a boat or have an RV or have something like that they're taking care of. I hear Bob's point that this could use some cleanup, and I think if we took 2 weeks, we could probably fix that. And I would agree that the point of having a second reading is not to mess with it once it's on consent. So if we need to be pulling something for consent, we just need to bring it back and talk about it.
Okay, so let's pick this thing apart though and find out what's really the problem.
Well, hang on.
Okay, is it the last part about? I mean, first of all, it says that if you are certified non-op or planned non-op, then it's supposed to be stored within an enclosure so it's not visible from the street or other public or private property, and it cannot be parked in any yard within a residential zoning district or neighborhood. So does that mean on your lot, on your residential lot, like behind the fence?
So when we talk about yard, we're talking about within like your setback. So you couldn't store it within your front yard setback or your side street setback, but you could store it outside of that in an enclosed building or behind a fence.
Okay. So, Bob, is that kind of what you're looking for?
Actually, no. Behind the fence, it wouldn't work in my house. Most of the homes that were initially built in Rancho Cordova, there's no way you could get a trailer, a RV, whatever in your backyard because it's not made for that. So you're still going to have it there on the driveway, not on the street, but we have a lot of people who have been doing that and storing their vehicles. They're retired, and they have purchased that, and this is what they plan on using. But now this says, well, you can't have it there. You have to get it out of the residential area, and it has to be in an area people can't see it. And I thought that's
Okay, but if they've purchased it and they're planning on using it, then why would it just sit there for years?
well, if you use it though, that's the thing.
Well, but then it's not, then you do not register it non-op. Registering something non-op means you're not going to use that for, it basically going to be mothballed for a year.
At least, yeah.
Well, maybe you can't, well, as I said, I couldn't use mine because of the open heart surgery. It doesn't mean I didn't want to use it after my health was
Sure.
back again. But this says that doesn't count. You just have to get it out of it.
Yeah,
And it's not, that's not going to work.
This is just my suggestion is, first off, like I think we just clarified, in another section, Bob, this is already law. So what you're saying you want to do is already against the law. So my suggestion would be continue this, probably if this is added to the RV conversation at some point or something else, have this as part of a larger conversation, because essentially what you're suggesting, Bob, and I'm willing to have the conversation, is to change existing law from this. This is basically clarifying it in this subsection so that it runs along with some of the other things that we're updating. But this wording exists somewhere else. So exactly what you're saying you don't want to be illegal already is. So that, to me, sounds like a much larger conversation than this. Because this, again, this wording is in, what did you just say?
Actually, Councilmember Terry, this is actually the code. If you read the 6.56160, this is the one that we're trying to codify into the zoning code. If you look at the bottom,
And this is in the abandoned vehicle code now.
it's right then. If you look, it's been there since 2003 when we became a city.
So again, Bob, if there's a larger discussion to have, and I'm like I'm saying, I'm willing to have that larger discussion. I don't know who else is, but if you and me and somebody else does, then we can have that conversation. But it means repealing or changing this that's in front of us, not the one that we're actually talking about that's on the consent. It's this one. And again, we're talking about something that's on consent right now. I would think we probably don't want to vote on it, and we want to have this item come back for additional conversation. That's what I'm hearing.
But my only question for the State Council is for the staff to bring this back. I think it would be helpful to understand the council's direction on this, because this is intended to address basically blight. So if you look at the definition, the way it's written is physically incapable of working, functioning, or otherwise operating to produce its designated effect. So that's the intent. That's what we're trying to do. So if you do make a modification to the language, it's important for staff to understand what we're trying to address.
Well, what I heard from Bob was that this definition of inoperable and where did it say, in disrepair and incapable of working, functioning, or otherwise producing, that somehow needs to make its way into Chapter 23.719 somehow of the aesthetics of what we're talking about too, in some way.
Well,
Is that? Are we getting to that?
Well, and the thing is.
Excuse me, I mean, if I may,
The thing is, if, for instance, Bob, in your case, if somebody had a medical reason that they couldn't use something that they had already used, you wouldn't necessarily do a non-op certificate. You would simply pay the registration, and you'd keep the battery up, and you'd wash it, and you'd take care of it because you don't want it to disintegrate, which is a completely different situation than if somebody's got an old vehicle and they let the tires go flat, or they put it up on concrete, or and they don't bother to do anything with it.
Well, that's what we
It just
talked
seems
about.
that the people who are doing something with good intentions are not penalized by this.
Through the mayor.
Adam?
Two quick comments. One is to the city manager's comment that this is intended to address plight. I would defer to the Ms. Simpson, but I think it's intended to address blight in a way that's fair, easily enforceable, and objective. If you were to consider adding to this a different standard or a period of additional months or some additional modification to the standard, I think you would, as a practical matter, end up with a standard that was far less objective and that was far more difficult to enforce. The second quick point I would make is to Mr. Terry's comment. I think that the language here before you in 23719.130 is, I believe, in fact, intended to specifically relate to and incorporate in the same standards. The reference to the Department of Motor Vehicles is exactly the same. So I think its intent, and I think we would read it and interpret it and enforce it as doing exactly what you just said it should do. So again, we would think that if you tried to accomplish what Mr. Garvey was just suggesting from a policy perspective, you might end up with something that was harder for them to enforce and harder for us to prosecute, and perhaps harder for the public to actually understand.
I think we would end up with people getting notified that they have to get rid of their vehicles and the trailers and the boats and all the rest, because that's what it says here.
But if they are creating a blight
Well, blight's one
in the
thing,
neighborhoods, but
having a vehicle that's in good shape, or having a boat and trailer and everything like that, that's still also in good shape, that has nothing to do with what it says here. It says you have to get rid of it.
Could I perhaps,
I
Madam
think
Mayor?
adding that language that we're seeing in front of us here, I think starts to clarify exactly what we're talking about, right?
Through the mayor, one bit of perspective that might be helpful, Ms. Simpson, is how does this standard relate to the standard for inoperable motor vehicles and vehicles that are inoperable on cars that are inoperable?
When we're looking for inoperable vehicles, we're looking for something that absolutely doesn't run. We're talking about flat tires, not just missing tags. We probably wouldn't even be looking, we're not going and looking at every house and going, that vehicle doesn't have a tag. Usually if we get a complaint, or if somebody drives by, there's something very specific that says that vehicle is not running. And it may be, like you said, a flat tire, it may be cobwebs underneath, it may be missing windows. So, and truly though, as to what the city attorney was saying, it would be very difficult for us to be trying to case manage it, case by case basis. But we honestly, Vice Mayor McGarvey, we probably wouldn't even be stopping at your house because your vehicle, I know, would be in good repair. We would have no reason to be concerned about the tags on the back. And again, if someone did have an issue and we had dealt with the vehicle, or we did dealing with a complaint, we would be working with you. But the ones that we're trying to get are the flat tires, the missing engines up on jacks. And if we remove that, it's going to make it very difficult for us to have that additional piece of enforcement action. And as I said, this has been codified in 6.5160 since 2003. And so these are the rules that we've been working on already. And I don't think that the council's seen a lot of people complaining, saying we've been unfair, because we do, to the best of our ability, try and work with folks.
If we wanted to change this and not adopt it the way it is, then we also need to have Mr. Sander, because as the author of Blight Busters and Growing Strong Neighborhoods, this is something that's very important to him. And it's been our goal, our entire 15 years, to encourage people to keep their properties and their vehicles in respectable condition, not to allow them to just sit for years on end gathering dust and debris and being unsightly in the neighborhood.
That's what we talked about. Like I said, I don't read it that way, so we can go ahead and vote on it if you want. That'd be
No,
fine.
I'll move to continue to next month so that staff can, I mean, do you think you have the direction to write up a new language?
I don't know what they change.
Well, no, well, to me, the code, so 23.719.130 doesn't include the definition of inoperative that you could put as, I mean, right below this. And it, I guess, well, actually, no, it doesn't reference it. That's not what this is. But take this definition that's in front of us on the monitors and incorporate that into this. And I think you're achieving what Bob is saying, which is that you're going to target blighted, nasty-looking vehicles, not just ones that are missing a tag. With that, I mean, to me, that seems like it's the compromise for this. The one thing, and I'll just say this, and I know Cyrus and I have talked about this at nauseum sometimes, Carrie and her team do a really great job when it comes to code enforcement, but we can't just keep adding things to the list and expecting them to just do more with the same number of people. And it seems like every time we talk about code, we're just adding more stuff for them to do when they're the same number of people and the same amount of resources for it. I know we just, or we're going to talk about the CDBG plan, but at some point, I know I've been on record as saying that I want to see our code enforcement officers just paid through general fund, not special funds. But we need to get to a point where we don't expect that everything that they do is a priority, because if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So as we talk about these things, how important is this comparatively to trash cans and all the other things that we're asking them to do?
Right. We just had this conversation this morning, actually.
Yeah, 'cause it-
So, all right, so if we're gonna consider asking staff to add this definition of inoperative, could somebody please define the last part of that sentence? Obviously, shall mean the condition of a vehicle which is physically incapable of working, functioning, or otherwise operating, period, is very understandable. But what does to produce its designed effect mean?
Through the mayor, if I may, though, Mr. Terry, in fairness to Mr. McGarvey, I don't think that your suggestion accomplishes his intent. I think one of the commonalities of both of the two definitions in front of you is that they make reference to the inoperative under the California Department of Motor Vehicles. Is that correct to staff? And that
Right.
was kind of a key subjective part of the approach. And Mr. McGarvey, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that sometimes folks might want to call up the DMV and say my vehicle is temporarily inoperable so that I don't have to pay for it while I deal with something else going on in my personal or family life. And that, therefore, that subjective standard should be omitted. Is that?
No, just as it says here, it's certified as non-operation or planned non-operation certified with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Well, that's something that you're doing. If you're not going to use it and you're going to have it registered as a non-operation, not non-operable, non-operation, you could do that, and it would sit there for that year, or you can change it and pay the whole thing later in the year. I mean, it's the DMV doesn't mind if you pay them more money, but right now it's saying that whether it's inoperable or non-operable, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah,
It has to be removed.
Yeah, Adam, I hear what you're saying now. We need some, well, see, I see the part up here, physically incapable of working or functioning, that would be something that physically you could see. But I think we need something around aesthetics so that, and that may make it a lot more difficult to write this. But some sort of poor condition, what you just described that you're looking for, you need to somehow write that. And I'm glad I don't have your job. But something along those lines, but you're right. just using the DMV definition is probably not enough. But describing in writing what you just said around missing windows, peeling paint, cobwebs up on blocks, missing engine, things like that. We need some sort of description of that and bring it back. But since we're doing that and we're talking about it, the fact that this is in another code section, we need to fix it there too. Yeah, all at once.
And through the mayor, all I would add is what I've said many times is we've added new requirements for the police department or added new requirements to the code enforcement staff is when we write new codes, having codes that folks can enforce at a distance, having codes that folks can enforce really objectively, having codes, you always, I think, try to put yourself both in the position of policymaker and council member listening to the community, but also in the position of the folks out there on the street trying to actually get the job done. And I do have, I think it might be reasonable, at least for staff, to include in their presentation and discussion about this requested edit, kind of a bit of reality from the field, if you will, and in the significance of that and other kinds of changes where you're taking out the objective standard or checking out the thing you can kind of check the box off or not.
Okay. Well, while we may not we may never get to some point where we all want to vote for this, we're not going to get there tonight.
Right.
So we might as well entertain a motion to continue it.
I think I already did, but I'll do it again. So
Well, but we need a date certain.
I'd already said
Don't
that
want to
I
just,
would bring this back in a month. Would that be enough time? So I'll make a motion to bring this back within 30 days.
okay, I'll second it. Stacy, call the roll.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, guys. So I hope, I hope staff can figure it out. Okay, so we'll move into our consent public hearing items. Same thing, they are considered pretty routine, and they can be approved with one motion unless we have somebody signed up to speak to these items. And so I'll open the public hearing for items 10.1 through 10.4 and ask if anybody has signed up to speak to them.
No.
And I will close the hearing and ask if anybody has questions on any of these items.
Move the calendar.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, thank you very much. Those items carry. So, public hearing items 11.1.
The subject of 11.1 is Lennar North Douglas Village 8 Major Design Review and Adjustment, project number DD 9760, located at the southern point of North Douglas and Americanos Boulevard and Douglas Road.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Nick Sosa, Assistant Planner for the City of Rancho Cordova. The project before you tonight is a major design review and adjustment for North Douglas Village 8. Shown here is a vicinity map of the North Douglas subdivision. North Douglas Village 8 is part of that subdivision approved in 2006. Village 8 contains 62 homes, zoned RD10, with lots, typical lots are 45 feet wide by 70 feet deep. All the homes proposed for this village are two-story, ranging from 1,454 square feet to 2,018 square feet. The project, the applicant is requesting a major design review for North Douglas. As I mentioned, it's 62 single-family units. The project proposes 3 floor plans ranging from 1454 to 2018 square feet. Each floor plan has 3 elevations: the Spanish, Craftsman, and Farmhouse. The applicant is also requesting an adjustment for a rear setback reduction for Lot 39 within the subdivision due to unique site conditions for that lot. Shown here is a typical setback exhibit. The minimum setbacks would be a 15-foot rear yard setback, a 5-foot interior side yard setback, a 19-foot garage setback, a 15-foot living area setback, and a 12.5-foot street side yard setback. Again, the 3 floor plans are ranging from 1454 to 2018. There's the Spanish, Craftsman, and Farmhouse. Elevations are proposed in 3 color schemes for each elevation to enhance the variation of the streetscape. Shown here is the 1454 floor plan. The first on your left is the Spanish style with arched windows, clay piping, and a simplistic look for Spanish. The Craftsman has stone veneer, some side paneling, and a thicker trim. And the Farmhouse will have corbels, stern entryway, and the rear elevations are shown below with enhancements for corner houses and houses visible by the main public right-of-ways, such as Americanos and Eddington. Shown here is Plan 1638. Again, you have your arches in the Spanish floor plan with shutters and also extended windowsill below that main window. The second one is the Craftsman with an additional patio railing and shutters. And then the third one is the Farmhouse with additional stone on the entryway. This is the final floor plan, the largest floor plan of 2,018 square feet. The Spanish will have arch windows, shutters, and continued arches. The Craftsman has the additional side paneling on the front facade with a brick veneer. And then the Farmhouse has the awnings over the 2 front windows and the additional stone on the front facade also. Shown here is a typical landscape and hardscape plan. The landscape includes drought-tolerant plants and trees, and also shows a 4-foot by 10-foot concrete slab poured behind the fence for the garbage receptacles. With the restriction on grass turf for developers to install when they're constructing the home, we noticed that some of the newer homes now have weed issues with weed growth.
They all have weed issues.
So we've added a condition to utilize weed barrier when they're providing the landscaping to hopefully encourage them to maintain the.
You know what happens?
What's that?
Roots run along the top of the ground under the paper. Trees, their roots don't go down. Bush roots don't go down. They just run along under the paper.
Oh, I see.
A lot of that has to do with the clay that's out there,
Mhm.
but you actually see even tree roots are right at the top and they're sprouting all over the place. But it's one way to try to do it.
Well, hopefully it's a step in the right direction for the weed
Well,
barrier.
the other people, the people who all are living in the newer section of our village, the first thing that happens with the rain, the bark all runs off into the street. And so there's more bark in the gutter than there is on the yard. So all you're going to do is wash the bark off the paper. It will just flow off easier because it's on paper. So
Well, hopefully we can work with our applicant on who's in the audience and we can determine some answers for your questions. So the applicant is also requesting an adjustment for lot 39. The zoning code allows for a 30% setback reduction by the city council. The applicant's requesting a 2-foot reduction for lot 39, which is a 13% reduction. The home needed to be shifted more to the back to meet the required front setback. So the rear yard setback would be reduced from 15 feet down to 13, only for this lot due to the knuckle of the court that's causing that. So the applicant is also requesting a slight change to the conditions of approval. Condition number 16 in regards to the landscape improvements for Lot C requires a parcel to be improved and dedicated to CRPD prior to building permit final for the last model home. Staff was informed that the subdivision is not proposed to have model homes at this location. So they've requested that to change the timing for this condition to acceptance of public street improvements. So the improvements for the Lot C would need to be completed prior to finalization of public streets, utilities, and that kind of stuff.
Is the
I'm
reason
not
that they're
seeing a
gonna
Lot
be-
C.
I don't believe it's highlighted in the,
Is it that triangle one?
it's the very point of the triangle.
I was wondering if there's gonna be a house there.
Yeah. No,
So-
it's,
Well, I don't know if the applicant plans on speaking, but are these homes being built in the other parts of the subdivision that are being proposed?
they're just being proposed for Village 8. The other parts, this is the only,
There are gonna be no models at all for this subdivision.
from my understanding, I don't believe so.
I mean, it's not a lot of lots, so that's not
Yeah,
totally
it's-
surprising, but they're not building, they didn't build these anywhere else? Are these gonna be like over in Anatolia 4 or something? Relatively the same, or are these completely different?
These are completely different. We don't have very many RD10 zones in that area, so I don't believe there's going to be any built around there. For the change in the conditions, staff and CRPD are supportive of the change in timing. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt resolution approving the major design review and adjustment and find the project exempt from further CEQA review, and also to allow the change in timing for condition number 16.
You said we don't have many RD10s. What are these? RD15, 16, what?
The proposed here, this is RD10.
10, okay.
Yeah, so it's 10 units per acre.
How does, and I know you probably didn't work with that, but how does that compare with what Elliott's building right now, or the villas at Anatolia, or some of the other ones? Like, do we know what were those? Sorry, I'm pulling back a ways with the Anatolia one. I only say that because I lived there. But like Elliott's veranda product, what is that? 12?
I can't recall what
Trying
veranda
to
was.
put in perspective.
Yeah, I have no idea what veranda is.
What was like Cap Village,
But they have
the
no-
non-townhouses?
They have no yards, period. They have a concrete patch out back on the alley.
In what? Which one? For veranda?
In veranda.
Yeah.
But the yards
I mean, these
are
have bigger yards than the
But
villas got.
Except that in veranda, there's more space between the houses, whereas in, at what's being completed now at Beazer, your blank wall is, there's zero lot line. So
Right.
the blank wall is the other person's property line.
Right.
Yeah, veranda was RD10 as well.
That was 10.
That was 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that one that was behind Rayleigh's, that was roughly this too?
I believe they
Sorry.
were medium density.
Yeah, that was more about an RD, that's probably more of an RD15 product.
Okay, that was a lot tighter. Okay. Yeah, these seem bigger than the other ones we've seen recently as far as the size of a yard, or you still have a front yard. And it seems like we've traded either, like that one wanted a front yard and, or a backyard. And Elliott basically sacrificed that to have a front yard and no backyard, really.
Correct.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Does anybody else want to speak to this item? Are we ready?
Pierre Martinez with Lennar, if you have any questions.
Come introduce yourself.
So Pierre Martinez with Lennar. A couple of quick, perhaps, comments I can share with you. With respect to the landscaping and the addition of the fabric, that hadn't been required in the past, and staff had brought to our attention that there was some weed issues with some of the newer developments and suggested that condition be added. So we didn't have a problem with that. I'm not a landscape architect. I'm not sure whether that's going to solve the problem or not. Certainly, while it's under our control, we do our best to minimize the weeds and make them presentable as possible. And once it's turned over to the homeowner, this isn't like in an HOA or anything where it's, aggressively maintained in a uniform manner. So we do accept the condition as proposed, if that will help solve the problem. With respect to the model homes, and perhaps I wasn't clear enough, Nick, so we have in Village 1 a sales office and model homes across Eddington Drive. So we have not decided if we're going to build the model homes yet because we have sales staff in the model homes basically a couple hundred yards away. And as we build production homes, they can see those, and then in the sales office, we have brochures and, other collateral that we can share with them. And we're building these homes in Natomas area in Sacramento. They have a little bit different architectural features. So we changed these going back and forth with staff to kind of meet the design guidelines for Rancho Cordova. But it's not terribly unusual where we don't have models if we have another community with a similar home as far as they can walk the floor plan and feel what it's like. So that decision hasn't been made, but that condition as originally written was tied to model homes, and we wanted to have the flexibility if we didn't do model homes to be able to develop Lot C kind of on a different timeline, but ensure that it would get done.
Super.
That totally answers my question.
Okay, great.
Okay,
So
great.
I'm
Any other
available for any
questions
other
the
questions.
applicant? Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Are we ready for a motion?
I'll move the item.
Second.
Adam, do you want us to be more specific about the motion?
No, moving the staff recommendations.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Item 12.1.
Item 12.1, Second Amendment to the Mather Veterans Village Phase 2 Deposition, Development, and Loan Agreement. Disposition, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Stefan Heisler with the Community Development Department. Joining me tonight are representatives from Veterans Resource Centers of America, Bert McChesney from Newport Beach, and Kent Trimble from San Diego. They've come up here to enjoy our wonderful weather.
Oh, great.
The weather's fine. It's the air.
It's the air.
Right? It was low 90s today. Come on.
Yeah,
Can't ask for more than that in August. Yes.
So to give you a quick project status update, so back in March of this year, we held a groundbreaking ceremony for phases 2 and 3. We had some more work to do for phase 2, which we have been completing. So the construction contract and pricing was finalized in July. Also, the building plans approved is a very technical term for the building department, but I will say they are waiting for fees to be paid, and they are ready for us. Also, we were able to finalize the county funding agreement for the additional grant that the county made to the city back in December. So we are predicting a construction start of mid-August of this year and a 12-month construction timeframe, so finishing construction in August of 2019. But we have some things we need to do tonight to kick that off. So for tonight's consideration, 3 things. 1, we're going to execute the agreement, or for council's decision tonight is to execute the agreement with the county for the additional county funds. Secondly, to commit additional city funds to the project, totaling $605,000 from 3 different sources. I'll explain what that means. And then thirdly, to approve the second amendment to the disposition, development, and loan agreement. So the additional county funds, this agreement will allow the city to enter into a $1 million agreement for the county funds. The funds will be passed through the city administratively. We will add these funds to the city's conditionally forgivable permanent loan to the project. And the county has stipulated that if we don't use the funds, that they be returned to the county. Whatever we don't use gets returned. However, we predict there's a very, very remote chance that that will happen. Secondly, there's a city fund request. As you are probably aware, construction costs have been skyrocketing this year due to a number of reasons, kind of exceeding our worst case scenario by quite a bit. So we're here tonight to talk about 3 different ways to fund this $605,000 request. The first way, the city has already provided a $330,000 pre-development loan to the project. All of those funds have been spent. They were helpful in getting the architectural plans completed. It was going to be repaid, but here we're proposing that that loan be forgiven. Specifically by adding additional funds to the permanent loan agreement to pay back the city's pre-development loan. Secondly, in the DDLA, there is a payment from the developer to the city for city costs of $100,000 that was going to be paid, and we're recommending that that now be not paid, annulled, basically. And then thirdly, there is an additional commitment of city funds that we're proposing, $175,000 to come from the redevelopment agency boomerang funds that were set aside for low-income housing. So that was part of the one-time payback from the redevelopment agency to the city, specifically for low-income housing. So we're recommending that this boomerang funds that has to be spent towards low-income housing be put to this project. So the total burden to the general fund is the $330,000 that will not be repaid, that's already been spent, and $100,000 of staff and legal costs that won't be repaid. Finally, the second amendment to the DDLA, these changes are administrative and they're required just to clean up the document, make it ready for construction. First, we're going to incorporate new language and a new exhibit regarding the additional county grant funding. Secondly, we're going to refresh the development performance schedule exhibit. We're also amending the city permanent loan amount, which has changed with the additional county funding and also the city request tonight. And then finally, it will permit changes to the loan agreement to make that finalized for construction. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Can we assume that all of staff is on the same page in forgiving a portion of the loan?
I can speak to that, Madam Mayor. This issue was brought to my attention some time ago, and given that the very unusual circumstances that we are in general with the construction cost, talking to many other agencies and looking at the even our own construction projects, construction costs have skyrocketed. So this is, we have looked at this. We have capacity on general fund to cover the amount that Stefan brought up today. So staff's recommendation is that we do move forward with this staff recommendation.
Yeah, I would just tell you as a housing developer, a nonprofit housing developer, that we're seeing upwards of 30 to 35% increases since the beginning of projects that started last year. So across the board, materials, labor, everything. I have 3 contractors that we used to use on a regular basis that have all moved their entire operations to Santa Rosa just to do insurance work. So finding laborers, finding materials, everything has gotten more expensive. So I'm totally fine with it. The $100,000 though, just remind me, where did we get it from? What was that?
So that $100,000 was a payment that the project was going to pay back the city for city staff time.
Oh, okay.
So instead of
we've never
adding
committed that.
Correct. So instead of adding that to the project costs, we're just going to take it away from the project cost.
Is that okay? So that's why you're not calling it a forgiveness.
Yeah, it was meant to be a reimbursement. So this is really staff time that's being donated to the project
out of our general fund.
Yes.
Okay. So where, then I'm confused. Where was, Linda mentioned something of forgiveness or forgiving a loan. Which part was that?
That's the pre-development loan that the city has made to the project, the $330,000 pre-development loan.
And we thought we were getting, was that the one we thought we were getting from increment or something?
No, that pre-development loan was a non-forgivable loan to the project that was going to be paid back with the first construction loan draw.
It was the fund that the city provided so they could go into construction drawings and prepare the plans and specs so they could apply for the grants.
So this was a couple
That's the
years
money
ago?
that we advanced.
Okay, this was a couple years ago. Then.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Anything else? Bob?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for all the time and efforts you've been putting into this. And I want to thank Don Latoli and the Kennelly for putting that extra money in. I mean, when we're talking about over $1 million that the county put into this in addition to, then it's cooperation that we were trying to achieve this Veterans Village. And it's something that's going to be something that will go on for years and years and years, and it's something I think that our veterans were going to, I know the ones that are there now are very thankful that it is there, because they are looking forward to the next phase going in. I know the phase 2 with the building is going to be helping a lot of the veterans come in off the street and they can learn what they're eligible for. Right now, they don't have any idea. They have no place to live. So we're doing quite a bit to help them. And then this permanent housing with the apartments is going to be even better still. But having all of those different phases that we're doing, it's something that is something that I know I've been working on for a long time. And with you and everyone else that's been working on this, it's great to have this thing done in this phase right now. So we're going to vote tonight to get this started. And can't tell you how much we appreciate everything that we've done for the veterans. It's because they definitely need it and deserve it.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody else come to speak to this item?
Mayor Fudge and Vice Mayor McGarvey and the other council members, Burt McChesney on behalf of Veterans Resource Centers of America, the developer here. And I want to echo Councilmember McGarvey's comment and thank all of you for the tremendous commitment that the city has made to this project. It's been a long, long process. We had to get a state proposition passed to provide the money. We had to guarantee that it could fund the transitional and not just the permanent supportive. We had to go twice to the legislature to tweak that so that we could get the money. We had to go to the legislature to change the Department of Finance regs so we could get that done. And the transitional, because it doesn't qualify for lots of other money, it's just been a real challenge making this work. And then construction cost went through the roof. We had an $800,000 contingency fund for construction costs, and the numbers came in at 1.4 above that. So it was incredible. So thank you for your just incredible support over the years in helping make this possible. And it's going to be a tremendous asset to veterans, and I think a tremendous asset and a star in the cap for City of Rancho Cordova. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bert.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments. What's really sad is in the industry of affordable housing, building veteran housing is supposed to be one of the easier ones to do. And you just heard all of the roadblocks they went through. Yet there tends to be a little bit more funding, and working with the VA is usually a little bit easier, yet you still had all of those headaches. So congrats to you and Stefan and everybody that worked on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remarkable. Okay, are we ready for a motion?
I make the motion to approve this. So close. 12.1.
Second.
Thank you. Stacy, call the roll.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Sandra is absent. Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for coming. All the way from San Diego.
Take some smoke back with you.
Yes, please. Take some smoke home. Council requests for future agenda items.
Well, I already said it, I'll just say it again, that I'd like, and this is not super urgent, but I'd like us to have a larger discussion about recyclables and what we can do as a city, what tools may be available to us to cut down the amount of non-recyclables that are ending up in our recycling bins.
Are
At
you
resident and at businesses.
Are you asking for a straw poll on that
Yeah,
issue?
we need 3.
So bad. And again, I will be very.
Donald, you know what we could do? We could simply invite Republic to come and make a presentation about their efforts. Because they do remind everybody on an annual basis, of course, but maybe they'd like to step up their efforts to remind people what to put and not to put into the trash can.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bigger than just them, though, I will say, because while they are a residential provider or servicer, this is also about commercial, which could be any of 7 different haulers. So I think a bigger discussion as a city, not just what we're talking about to our residents, but what tools and are there things that we do want to consider phasing out and certain materials and certain items that we want to do that with. I mean, that's been a broader conversation in California that I think has been piecemealed up and down the West Coast in recent years that have made for some very interesting political fodder, but there's a reason for doing it. There are certain items that just in the last few months, there are things that are no longer recyclable that used to be, that China won't buy anymore and a lot of other things like that. I'm talking more than just coming and saying, here are the things that should go in a recycling bin I'd like to have a broader, an hour or so discussion about what's happening in this industry and what's changing from last month that's no longer recyclable today.
Okay, I'm not sure I want to talk about it for an hour, but since I'm the one that tried to get you all, not you, but you all, to ban
Somebody seconded your motion after a while, don't
plastic
forget.
bags for years and years and years, and Adam wrote the ordinance and unwrote the ordinance, and every time the state would make flurries about doing something about it.
At one point, 2 of us did agree on that.
Yeah, so I'm happy to discuss recycling. As I told you before, this is a global problem and our little city is not going to be able to solve it. But I'm happy to be the second vote to put this on the agenda if there's a third vote.
Can I say one thing, though, about what you said is...
Okay, we have 3 votes.
Well, hang on.
So we need to focus this, why don't you work with staff to focus this discussion to something that we can actually do something about?
And I would liken this very much to our smoking ordinance that we talked about. Are we going to fix...
Well, we did that.
Right, but did we fix the smoking problem in California? No, but we took what steps we could within our own community. And Malibu's not fixing this problem by banning plastic forks. And I'm not coming into this with any solutions, but to say that we're a leader in an issue, whether it's plastic bags or a lot of other things that we cared about, I think it's worth having the conversation because this industry is changing day by day, it seems like. And even what Malibu was talking about last year is different today.
Yeah. Okay, well, we
Okay.
also need whoever is doing solid waste, and it's not Steve anymore, it's somebody else, because regardless of what we might like to do, we're under state mandates for certain things. So that they need to be a part of that conversation too.
Yeah, I think
Then
this
what parameters we're allowed to talk about? We should talk
this
about
is
what-
possibly a work session discussion.
What I'm thinking.
Just a word of caution here, we are looking at our work session schedules. We are completely booked for the rest of this year, so as long as this is not an urgent topic, it will be quite some time before we get to it. We have not been able to find the dates that council can meet.
Okay, well, we have 3 votes to just put it on the list, so we'll put it on the
So
list.
it would probably be sometime
Okay,
in
does
2019.
does anybody else want to discuss either of the other 2 kids' proposals? The gender-neutral restrooms and the Promise Program.
The Promise Program is going to be something we're going to have to talk about at some point. No. Well, no. At some point, the one thing we should probably come back to on Promise Program is probably a little bit of a broader discussion as well are the things, we have our legacy projects, and someday we're going to pay for these things. There's also some things that I think in this last round we said, the next time we go into Measure H, take some things just and fund them. They're going to be like, Promise Program was one of those ones that let's stop talking about, do we want to do it again? Just say, okay, it's going to be about 150 grand and we'll figure out what it looks like next year after we figure out what funding sources the state has. But maybe having a discussion about what other things off of that Measure H list that we don't need to debate anymore. Those are things that long-term we're going to be committed to.
Okay,
So that's more of what I think at some point we should have a revisit to Measure H about what are the things that we're just leaving in place.
Okay, and that's a different conversation.
Right.
All right, so,
But I think we pretty much agreed to that the last time we talked about Measure H.
Bring that up during the budget? That was going to happen this year?
there was a point where,
Yeah, sometime
it
this
was going
fall
to
is
come back.
I think staff's commitment was to bring some high-level policy discussions related to Measure H and how the funds are allocated, and we were hoping to do that sometimes in the fall.
That's
Okay,
fine.
super.
But I'm just, encased in that somewhere is going to be a conversation about what Measure H looks, or what the Promise Program looks like.
Okay, super, all right. Then we have concurrence to bring the recyclable part back with the discussion about recyclables.
Yeah, and we don't need to rush it. Like I said, I mean, if we had this discussion tomorrow, 3 weeks from now, something else might not be recyclable. So maybe taking some time with the industry and getting it. No, literally, I mean.
Absolutely.
China did not buy any cardboard or paper products in May, I heard. There was a story in, I think, the Financial Times about it. That was the first time they'd ever done that. So that was
Okay,
2
so
months
the
ago.
solution to this is for people in this country to stop trying to ship things out of the country, but to figure out how to make a useful product out of it the way they do in Japan. Okay? In 2009, I was on a study mission to Japan, and Bob remembers I came back and made a very long presentation about all the stuff we had seen when we went down island to Totori Prefecture and saw all the remarkable products, creative products that they're making out of recyclables. We don't do that in this country. Here we have all this ingenuity.
No, we send them to Japan.
And we send them to Japan, okay?
Or China.
Well, there's got to be somebody around here, some entrepreneur who'd like to make something out of something that we're trying to recycle and send
we should find those
overboard.
people and bring them to our workshop. But
Absolutely. All righty.
it'll be an interesting conversation.
Okay, interesting conversation. Okay. If there's nothing else anybody wants to talk about, we are going to adjourn tonight in memory of Rose Frank Yost, Sue Johnson, Mary Florence Mornini, John Dale Reinen, and Trudy Porter Schaefer. Have a good evening, everyone. Stay out of the dreadful air.